Well, I've done it again. I bought another guitar off of eBay. This is a Silvertone, and it's shaped about like a H162. I think they were made by Harmony. And they got the small dots in the neck. Got the big guard on it, and it's got a little extra couple of rings on that sound hole. Plastic around that sound hole. It's got a model number 319.12149. The neck's about the shape of one of those old Harmony 162s, and it looks like it's a birch back and sides to me. It's plywood, the back and sides. I hope the top's not plywood. It's a ladder brace guitar. There's some finish damage back here on the back. I'd guess this may be from the 50s or 60s, but I don't know. The neck's got a little bit of relief in it, but it'd probably be playable. I usually take the fingerboard off these guitars and put a two-way truss rod in them. I'm thinking about taking the binding off and taking the back off this one. Alright, that's what I've got. We're going to plug these little silicone heaters up and see if we can't get this fingerboard off here. Now it's just a waiting game to get this thing warm enough to work some putty knives down in there. Well, here we are in the process of removing this fingerboard. It's been about 15 minutes now. I'm going to show you one thing that I failed to consider. You can see these little inlays. I just assumed that they were pearl, but they're not. They're that celluloid stuff, and it just catches on fire and blazes up. So while I got my little heating blankets out, I'm going to go ahead and take this bridge off. Alright, it's been about 10 minutes now. We're going to start working on this thing. You know, this didn't have screws in it. Somebody's taken that off at some point and put it back on. You see it's cracked all the way down through it. That's pretty clean. Pretty clean for taking one off. Okay, now here's the old truss rod that came out of this thing. And here's the one we're going to put back in it. And it's just a hair wider. The new one is just a hair wider than the old one. So what I've learned to do is to just take a chisel. It's not real critical for this to be dead straight down through here. This is a poplar neck. And so I just, what I've learned to do is just go down through here with a chisel and widen this thing out just a little bit. Well, here's the slot widened out and the truss rod in the neck down far enough below the plane of the fingerboard where the fingerboard mounts. Here's a shot of our jig we got set up here to heat the neck up, get it out of away from the body. These are some foam cutting tools. and they generate a little heat. We're going to squirt a little water down in these holes here we've drilled in between the neck and the body. And that should generate a little steam to help encourage that neck to come out of there. And we just wiggle this thing around a little bit. Apply some pressure. And just be patient. Let that heat creep into that neck. We got this little grinding drum here with some real coarse paper on it. We're going to cut this sound hole out to 4 inches. Got it marked here with some masking tape. The best guide I found to do this with is your eyeball. After you get the initial shape, you can kind of look at it and see where it looks flat and straighten it up. So that's the way we do that. I'll go around this with some finer sandpaper and round the edges off, and then the end we'll brush a little shellac around that edge to make it look like the rest of it. Here's a shot of the sound hole after we smooth the edges down on it. And here's one thing that I found. You got a little crack right here, see? It's my opinion that they didn't have this front brace large enough, and it allowed the spruce to crack. It's pretty common with some Gibsons and some of these old Harmonies and K's. We're going to take that front brace out and put a Martin size brace, which is a 1/2 inch wide, in it, and we'll reinforce underneath that with a cleat. I've decided to take the back off of this guitar and rebrace it. I can do it through the sound hole, but I just decided to do this one this way. Here's a shot of the body after I got the binding off of it. Came off pretty clean. The binding ain't no more ragged than the rest of the guitar. So now we're going to proceed to taking the back off of it. We've got the binding off this thing, and we're going to start taking the back off. We're going to start up here at the front. And we've got a pot of hot water over here that we're going to dip our little putty knives and things down in it. There she is. There's a number on this. These numbers don't necessarily mean anything, but alright, 32, 56, 12, 14. Now that 56 could mean 1956, or it could just not mean anything at all. Now here's a shot of the top. You got 5 braces in it, 4 behind the sound hole and 1 in front of it. Now you can see what I was talking about when I said the front brace is not as big as the ones they put in the back. They apparently had some problems with these bridges rolling forward on these things, and an older K that I worked on, so it's supposed to have been a 1938 model. It didn't have but 3 braces behind the sound hole, so at some point they started adding an additional brace. And these things were weak around the sound hole area. They'd cave in, sink down sometimes, so we'll eliminate that problem. Well, we're going to start working on these braces. I found that sometimes you can rock these braces a little bit. They're not glued in too well. You can get the bulk of them out. The wood they used in these braces wasn't really a great guitar wood. They always seemed like they had a bunch of run out in them. I'm going to show you what we call run out. Now you see this brace was right here. You see how it started right here, and it went, that looks like maybe a 20-degree angle or something like that, maybe, I don't know. But ideally you want the grain running right straight across, and it not only is stronger that way, but I think it carries the sound better. So I just wanted to demonstrate. I think that's what makes some of these guitars sound better than others, even if they got ladder bracing in them. I've seen some of them sounding pretty good, but these braces are just not top grade wood, and I think that's a contributing factor to the sound of it and the strength of it. We're working with a little 80 grit sandpaper. Well, we've got the top braces out, cleaned up, sanded down smooth. And we've got this this crack up here that you can see. So while we've got this exposed, we're going to put some glue in that. Here's a shot of the clamping we had on there. Here's a shot of the top glue back together. We're going to make us a little cleat and put in here. Well, we got some little spruce plugs that we previously drilled out. We're going to run a little bit of CA glue down in here and glue these plugs in the top. We've got the neck just positioned on this thing back down in the dovetail. It's not connected to the body, but it's in the position where it goes. And we've got the fingerboard on it where it goes, and we've got our little marking gauge with the harmony scale on it. We got it lined up here with the 12th fret at the joint, and the other half of it goes to the front of the saddle. So we've got the front of the saddle at the first string lined up here, and that shows me where to put my pattern on the as far as front and back, so that the bridge fits the X braces and comes out in the right place where the strings are. And we measured this the distance between the front of the sound hole, or the back of the sound hole, and this front of this pattern, and it's 45 millimeters. So that tells me where to, when I turn this over and mark my pattern on the inside for the braces, that shows me where to put it in relationship to the length of the scale. Well, I've worked on these braces. They're between 1/4 and 5/16 wide, and scalloped them, cut the little notches in them to go together, and so we got them where they'll fit right in here. Put them down on their marks. Here's my setup for the for gluing these X braces in. Here's a shot of the X braces and the front brace glued in, clamped in with the fish glue. We're going to let that dry, and we're going to put some little pieces of wood around the sound hole. And that's going to be the top bracing in this guitar. Now we're working on these back braces. They're all loose, most of them. Well, here's the back after I got it cleaned up. Well, here's the back braces glued back in there. Used fish glue on them. We also went around the edge of the joint between the top and the sides. The joint looked good, but I felt like it wipe a little fish glue down in those curves of the linings. It it couldn't hurt anything. As loose as all the other joints were, I felt like that'd be a good idea. Well, here's a final shot of the back after I got the braces glued back in it and cleaned up. I'm going to clean them. And here's the top and the sides. I ran some fish glue around the edge of this joint where the linings and the top meet. All these other joints were so loose, I just felt like that'd be some good insurance. Put 3 extra wide braces around the sound hole. Put a little cleat in front of the front brace there, between the front brace and the neck block, to reinforce that crack that we repaired. Got a dogwood bridge plate in it. Scalloped X braces. And put a little autograph in it. We detailed a little bit of what we did to in our B2 restoration on the inside of this back. Nobody will ever be able to see it, but somebody that's looking for it. But we wanted to write down what we did. We're getting this linings ready for put the back on. Here's the back glued in, all the clamps on it. Here's the fingerboard clamped onto the neck. We straightened what little bow was in the neck out, put the 2-way truss rod in it, cleaned it up and glued it back in there. Here's a shot of the binding attached, masking tape. Use some of this off-white binding I got from Stuart McDonald, Stu Mac. I guess they changed the name of it to Stu Mac. But anyhow, I've used some of it once before, and it looks good. Well, here we are in the process of taking this tape off, this binding. As I probably said before, we glued this on with fish glue. Used some of this off-white binding from Stuart McDonald. Now we're going to clean some of this squeeze out off of this neck where we put the fingerboard back on. Here we are, we got some inlays, other pearl inlays. They're 4mm. And we've cleaned those holes out of that old plastic celluloid stuff. And we're going to work on these little mother pearl pieces. Try to get them down level with the fingerboard. Well, we got these inlays put in here and smoothed down, and we're working on this fingerboard now, trying to get these cross grain scratches out of it. If you can't see it, you can probably hear them scratches is in there. Well, here's a shot of the binding after we got it smoothed down and scraped down. Old finish is rough. We'll see if we can't do a little something with that. I'm not going to totally refinish it, but and I'll show you the neck after I smoothed it down. Got the fingerboard all inlaid and sanded those scratches out of it. Had to sand down through the stain on this edges, but we'll do something with that. I didn't try to film this, but I've tried to doctor up this finish a little bit. It's still rough looking, but I kind of sprayed a little finish around on the edges of this neck and on the back of this back end of this guitar. It's still going to look rough, but that's all I'm going to do to it. I definitely won't try to refinish this guitar. We're working on this neck here, on the dovetail. We're taking this to putting it in the little vise here and sanding on the sides and the end with some 80 grit sandpaper. Just doing a little bit at a time, taking the same amount of strokes on each side. Now we'll put it in our little jig here. Tighten up this bottom clamp. And that pulls the neck up against the body in the position where it should be when we get the shims in it to fit the neck to the body. And we clamp it down here. We check it with this little feeler gauge to see that it's in place. If that feeler gauge goes in there, it's not in place. All that's where it should be. Now we'll slide this straight edge down through here. And it just is barely above the bridge, and that's where we want it. Here's the neck glued in. Got the bridge on there in position. Got the neck clamped in there. Got just about a 1/16 of an inch clearance between the top of the bridge and the straight edge. Alright, we got the bridge ready to glue on here. Got our little template laid out. We got a little shellac on a paper towel here, and we're just going to wipe it around the edge of this sound hole so it pretty well matches the rest of the guitar top. Here's a shot of us applying this fake rosette. It's just a decal, but it dresses up the looks of the top, I think. This is a regular Martin shaped pick guard. And the body on this guitar is narrower than a dreadnought, so I had to take a little bit out of the sound hole area to make it look right on there. I don't want the pick guard right out to the edge of the top, and I'm working with this single edge razor blade to put a bevel on it. And I know some of you people saying, well, why in the world are you wasting your time doing that for? Well, I just like the looks of it. It looks more, it looks better to me, that's all. So I'm going to round the edges over so it doesn't look like somebody's just stuck a new pick guard on it. It looks like it's been there for a while. Well, here's the pick guard with the edges beveled down, rounded over. Got it on the top. Looks good to me. This thing had a long pick guard on it and there's still a couple of holes showing. Well, here we are with it just about finished. A few little minor details waiting, but got a strap button put on it, and put some mineral oil on the fingerboard. Got the nut glued in it. Put my little B2 emblem on it, which you folks don't know, but that stands for born twice. Put some side dots on the neck. And we've got the pick guard on it and the rosette, fake rosette on it. Got the action set like we like it. There's a few rough spots on it. A whole lot of rough spots on it, but as we've said a lot of times, we're not shooting for museum quality. We just want to get it play good. And I'll try to show you what it sounds like here as well as I can. Here's this little Silvertone guitar. Take this tuner off of it. This is an old Silvertone guitar that I've done my B2 restoration on, and I've spent quite a few hours working on it. Took the back off of it and took the ladder braces out of it and rebraced it and glued up the loose braces in the back, replaced some of them, put a two-way truss rod in the neck. Of course, we made a truss rod cover for it. Enlarged the sound hole to 4 inches. Put a Martin style bridge on it in a 1/8 inch saddle, which is what I prefer over the narrow ones. Got some dogwood bridge pins in it that are homemade, and made a pick guard out of a Martin style, but I had to cut it down and bevel the edges of it. Put some side dots on it, strap pin. Put the same keys back on it. They're those old Schaller things. I don't usually use them, but these seem to work pretty well, so I'm going to use them, and kind of touched up the finish a little bit. It had some pretty rough places on it, and it still looks rough, but it's not as bad as it was. So I'm going to try to demonstrate how it sounds as within my capabilities. Tempted in pride, we're all made to wander. Why it should be thus all the day long, while there are others living about us, never molested, though in the wrong. Farther along we'll know all about it. Farther along we'll understand why. Cheer up, my brother, live in the sunshine. We'll understand it all by and by. And that's the way it sounds.